Hello and welcome to the Coaching Crowd podcast with me, Jo Wheatley, and my friend and co-host Zoe Hawkins.
Hello, and we're here this week to talk to you about 10 questions that you might want to ask yourself when you're thinking of training to be a coach. And the reason that we are asking this right now is because we're onboarding for new coaching qualifications. We know many of our listeners are still thinking and considering about coming to train as a coach with us or with another provider. And also, they are questions that we get asked very regularly around some of the things that we think about when we're looking at our own CPD, and how you reach that decision to decide to be a coach. So we just thought we'd share these 10 questions with you today to give you a hand with your thinking.
Yeah, and as you were introducing that, Zoe, I've added a number 11. So we may end up with 11 questions,
Or call it a bonus.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question that we encourage you to reflect on when you're at this kind of crossroads thinking about, shall I train to be a coach or not, is what is your why? What is your motivation to wanting to train to be a coach? How long have you had that for? What does it mean to you?
There's a lot of questions within that one question.
Yeah, but connecting with your why, the importance of it to you, what does it signify and represent for you?
Yeah. And you don't have to have crystal clarity around that. I think that's the other piece that's important. I think that why can take a while to really crystallize, but I think it's really connecting in with your heart. So often decisions are made from our head. We think about the pros, we think about the cons, we weigh up, can I afford it? Have I got the time? All of those things. But actually, often with these decisions, it's about connecting in with your heart. It's like, what's my soul calling for? And does that feel aligned? And I know when I decided to do my coaching training, that was where I needed to go to be able to make that decision. I didn't have a plan. I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I just felt like it was going to be a journey of discovery for me, and I would work the rest out as we went. So my why at the time was just about helping others, but also it was okay that was vague, that didn't have full clarity around that. So I think connect in with that heart space, connect in with what you feel called for, and use that as a basis for some decision making as well.
Yeah, notice where you feel that in your body. It's probably the thing when you're telling people at a barbecue, oh, I'm going to, people say, what are you up to? You say, oh, I'm going to train to be a coach, or I'm thinking about training to be a coach. Say, oh, why are you thinking of doing that? You might not have the answer that you can give in the barbecue situation, but you feel it inside you. You just have a sense of knowing that this is a path for you to follow.
Yeah. And I think the question that maybe comes on from that is, how will this serve you? So when you decide to train as a coach, how will it serve you? So the obvious one might be building out my leadership skills to be the best leader that I can be, or it might be you want to pivot to become a coach. And so there's that direct impact. How else might this serve you? Is it about being connected into a community, and that you're craving some more connection in your life? Is it that you're ready for challenge and stimulation, and so you are looking forward to being in the learning space, and that's going to really ignite and excite and motivate you? Perhaps, your family dynamic is important to you, and coaching, as much as it is there to be for your career, is also going to help you to be a better parent, and that really calls to you. So look beyond the most obvious reason for your decision and think, how else in my life is this going to serve and be of benefit to me? And I think that can really help to encourage your decision making as well.
And then a question that's worth asking yourself is, do I have the energy for it? Because when we think about our coaching qualifications, we are really proud of the fact that they are in depth, they're rigorous, there are demos to watch, there are semi-structures of conversations to read, there are lessons to watch. You've got to come along and turn up to the live sessions and practice and get feedback, show up as the coachee and bring stuff to honor your fellow learner. You've got triad practice. There's a lot involved in the qualification, certainly the level 5 and the level 7. Our level 3, which is the foundation level, is a self-guided qualification. So that's a different type of energy. So whichever you're interested in, I think it is really worth thinking, have I got the energy for it? And taking into account how long that particular course is going to take. So the guide that the provider's going to give you, and thinking about, can I sustain my energy for this over that period of time? And of course, life changes. When you're doing a longer program, things are likely to change in your life. But, on the basis of what you know at that time, is your why and how it's going to serve you strong enough to fuel your energy to enable you to complete it, even when it feels tough, and as well as when it feels amazing and fun and engaging?
Yeah, I think energy is really important. And there's a piece about acknowledging the peaks and troughs, like you've said there. So it's not about saying you've got to be high energy throughout the entire part of your qualification. It's about recognizing, do I have the energy for the ride? Do I have the energy to ride the highs and the lows? And is that environment going to be overall stimulating for me and something that's going to excite and ignite me? And we don't hide behind the fact that our coaching qualifications are a lot of work. Like, they are a lot of work. It's how you get to be an amazing world-class coach, is by going through that process and fully investing in your coaching development. So, it's not a picnic. It's a challenging, stimulating learning environment, but one that I would say all of our learners tend to thrive within. So that one was,
do I have the energy for it?
That's it. Thank you. Do I have the energy for it? So I think another thing that could be really useful when we think about energy then is, what support do I need, or how do I need to resource myself for that journey? So that might be practical things like creating the time and space to be able to attend the live trainings, do the pre-work, do the triad work. But what other support are you looking for or need to be able to help and guide you through the duration of the qualification? Of course, we will be there in the background as the overall holders of the qualification. You'll have your facilitation team and your supervisors and the behind the support scene. So it is a well-resourced package that we're giving you. What else do you need to be able to support yourself through this journey?
And that may be support from your workplace to fund your qualification. It might be them supporting you with time if they don't support you with the cost of it. It might be about you funding it and doing it in your own time, but wanting to have the opportunities to practice and embed your coaching skills in your role. So you might be looking for that sort of support so that it feels like you're able to immediately put what you're learning into practice, and that's an important thing for you. It might be support at home. So, that you've got people making meals for you when you've got, a little bit of time between work and doing this, or it might be that you're in between roles. Maybe your role has been made redundant and you've got a financial cushion and you're choosing to invest in this because it's something you've always wanted to do, and you're not sure what you want to do next, but you feel it will be helpful to whatever you decide to do. And it might be needing to have support if there are other people in your family that they support you to take that time for you at this particular time. But it could also be around even things like nutrition. I'm thinking about, how do you look after your whole self during this period of time, and how do you make sure you get outside and that you're not stuck in front of a screen whilst maybe you've got your job and you're also doing this learning? What about friends? Have you got friends that are going to encourage you and support you and show interest in it? And are they happy for you to practice on them, or at least chat about it? Do you want to be part of other groups like beyond your qualification so that you can get even more insights into it? I mean, there's all sorts of support.
Yeah, I was thinking about when we ran the intensive program this year, and our learners were sharing, I've been out for a run this morning, or I've done my meal prep, so that I can just eat when there are the breaks and things. So it's both the little things and the big things, isn't it, in terms of support? Yeah.
And then, of course, you do need to think about your budget. How far will your budget stretch? On our programs, we offer the opportunity to be able to pay in full in advance of starting the qualification. We offer the opportunity for payment plans. And sometimes you have learners that want to start off with payment plans, but they think they're going to want to pay it off partway through. And can they do that? Which is absolutely fine. We have learners whose organization will contribute to the investment for the qualification, and then the learner pays a part of it as well. And again, we do that. You can't do that when you book online on our website, but you can contact us and we can arrange that for you.
Yeah,
So,
and for our, sorry, Jo, for our military learners, of course, we're LCAS funded as well. So we often have people using their LCAS funding and supporting themselves with some of their own payments as well. And budget is important. And I'd also encourage you to think of it as investment. Like I know I invested my own coaching development at the time. It was a really significant investment. Most money I'd ever spent on myself on anything. I think maybe I'd bought a house by then, but in terms of personal development. And it felt like a big decision. And at the same time, I knew that it would be an investment. So it's not necessarily about focusing on the cost, but also around what is the investment that I'm going to be able to glean back from this. Of course, if it's about setting up as a coach, then you have that future investment, but also the personal growth and development that you get from it. I know for me, this investment has paid for itself so many times over. It blows my mind how significant an investment that was at the time. And knowing what I know now, I'd have paid 10 times more because of how valuable it's been to me on my journey. You can't know that at the time. So some of that is a leap of faith. But that's why you connect in with everything we've discussed so far, your why, your heart, your energy, so that when it comes to make the decision around your budget, you can do that with alignment, knowing that it's worth it for you.
Yeah. And our courses range from, close to £1,000 up to £5,000 plus. So there's a whole range. And in fact, we have even like bite-sized chunks that are even cheaper than that start off around to about £200. So and you can translate that if you're not in the UK. And so this kind of links to question 11 that I mentioned popped into my head at the beginning of this chat. We have had a number of people recently, haven't had it before, but a number of people recently saying, do I need to do the level 3, then the 5, and then the 7? And the answer is no. If you have got experience of being coached or coaching other people, that could be in your role as a manager of others, then you can go straight in at level 7, which means that you don't need to budget to do all 3 qualifications in sequence. You would just need to budget for doing that top one. And so ultimately that's going to save you a lot of money. And so, thinking about the progression routes. So I think we mentioned in a previous podcast that as a result of demand, we have created our most advanced diploma yet, which is our level 7 plus our emotions coaching. So that's got your initial coaching training, which is a master's level, and your first bit of CPD together in one package, which saves money in the budget because there is a discount applied for that. So, think about not only what you want to do now in terms of coaching training, but what's going to come next. What would you want to do after that? Because that will tell you about the pathway that you're on. And again, we'll link back to you being able to check in. How does that relate to my why? How's that going to serve me?
Yeah. And I think leading on from that, we're talking about how do I learn best? So what am I up for? So there's lots of different formats to our coaching training programs. There's intensive versions and there's more bite-sized versions where we stretch that out over a longer period of time. Our group sizes typically are around 21 people when they're sold out. That's the sort of group size that you're looking at. So it's a highly connected experience, very experiential in terms of, hands-on practice. So think about, what am I looking for in my coaching qualification around how do I learn best? So you can choose a coaching format and a program and facilitators that are right for you.
Yeah. And what we've tried to do have done with our courses and the pre-work, the learning you do in advance of the practice sessions, the facilitated sessions, you've got a lot of visual stuff in that. You've got the videos, which provide the visual, they provide the audio, that platform you have access to for 3 years, which mirrors the time frame that you've got to complete the qualification. So you can dip in and out of it as many times as you need to. So if you're somebody that's like, I don't take things in very well the first time, I need it 3, 4, 5 times, you absolutely are going to get that, as well as the layering up of the practice that you do. And so, how you learn best, it's also thinking about, do you enjoy being in a virtual environment, which means you can be in your kind of comfort space at home and it's less disruptive maybe to other people around you? Or do you want to do something that's in person? And, do you have the budget to be able to make that happen for you? And, for a lot of people, it is the format of it that makes the difference. So when we launched our intensive option that we mentioned earlier, that could have sold out nearly 2 times over. It wasn't something we offered before, and we trialed it. And for a lot of people that had this energy, they're like, I want to do it and I want to have it now. Some people are like that and they want to be in the bubble, and that's how they learn best, by kind of almost shutting everything else out and absorbing all of that. And for other people, it's just too much to do, and so that more staggered version helps. And in fact, I was in a supervision session supervising some coaches in training this morning, and one of their reflections was they've been doing a lot of coaching in the evening and they realize they don't want to be doing coaching in the evening because they feel it's intrusive into their family environment. So they're thinking about how they can shift it back into their normal working hours, which was great awareness. So there's awareness that there's a demand for coaching in the evening. There's also an awareness from a self perspective that they can serve their clients best and are going to learn most when they do it in the daytime. So really just kind of reflecting yourself. What have you learned from previous experiences of learning? And how does that inform what you're looking for in terms of a course that's going to meet your needs now?
And I guess that brings us to another question, which is, when do I want to achieve it by? So you may have a timeline in mind around how important it is for you to get your qualification under your belt and be out there working as a fully qualified and accredited coach. And so the format of your coaching training is going to dictate to some extent the time that it takes. So the piece that is flexible is the formal learning part. So the pre-work and the formal learning, depending what format of course you choose, is going to influence that. Then the coaching hours, the practical, is down to you. So if you can take on 5 or 6 clients at one particular point in time, then you're going to be able to gain the hours that you need to support your qualification much faster. So in the outset, all of this information is available on our website. You can go and take a look. Think about, when do I want to achieve it by, and choose the format of the program that is right for you and the timeline that feels most achievable for where you're at.
And probably also allow a little bit of a buffer because when you're doing your master's level qualification, for example, there are people that do it in the original timescales that they've set themselves and their goals. But as we said earlier, life does tend to happen for all of us. And so I'd encourage you to think about that as well when you're looking at the formats that you want to choose. And alongside that is, what do I need in terms of challenge? So we talked about the different levels of courses that we offer. The level 3, which is self-guided. Again, you have a online platform for that. You are supported with supervision in that program, but it is a sort of an entry level qualification. It's a great qualification for those people that are perhaps first line managers and are thinking, I really want to upskill myself right now and bring some other skills and tools and techniques and build my confidence in this area. If you're somebody that's thinking, perhaps you're running an internal coaching cohort, or you're responsible for developing a coaching culture within an organization. If you're somebody that's previously enjoyed quite intensive learning, maybe you've done a master's, maybe you've done a PhD even, or you've done quite long intensive qualifications, you enjoy being challenged in your role, and you're looking for that similar sort of challenge in the learning that you're going to get, then you might be looking at the level 5 or the level 7 qualifications. For the level 7, one of the main things that's different is when you're completing your assignments, you are required to provide quite a high degree of critical reflection and being able to kind of debate and discuss things from different perspectives. And of course, you're all going to get feedback. So when you attend the live programs on the 5 and the 7, thinking about, do I want feedback? Can I take feedback? Am I going to use the feedback? Will I enjoy that element of it? It's okay if it's uncomfortable at times, but is that important to you, that you're going to be challenged in that way with new perspectives? And I think what we have is something really that we are trying to ensure that we've got something for everybody. Wherever you are on your coaching journey, there's a qualification that you can trust.
I think there's something in that for me around support and challenge. I know when I'm looking at CPD, it's probably one of the first questions I ask is, how challenging is this going to be? And whilst some of it can feel intimidating, it's also exciting because I know that I'm going to get a huge amount from it. If I'm looking down that list and I was like, I don't recognize any of those things, like that for me is like me in a sweet shop, like, hooray, look how much I'm going to learn. And not everybody's like that, but hopefully when you look at our programs, you'll see that. And I think this new one that we've offered around the level 7 plus the emotions coaching, it's designed for those people who want the best, the challenge, the intellectual, the depth, the transformational experience. You're gonna love that program. So I think there were 2 final questions we had on the list, which was around what will you bring, and then this piece around what accreditations are important to you. And so with the what will I bring, I think that's just a fun angle to take. Like sometimes when you're making a decision, it's all about right, what am I going to get? Is this going to be right for me? But think about like, what would I be able to contribute to a coaching qualification and a community and a cohort of learners? And what will I enjoy bringing and sharing into that experience? And that might be your ability to listen. It might be your compassion. It might be your humor. It might be your ability to ask like the questions that perhaps the rest of the cohort are like silently sitting on because they're not sure if they should, ask that question or not. So, think about your needs as well. Like, what are you going to bring in order to get the experience that you want to have on that cohort?
Yeah. What relationship do you want to have with the qualification and this that are going to be either joining you in that learner kind of cohort and experience, but also the facilitators? And it's all of you together that really create the experience. That the content is one thing, but the experience is another. So the more you put in, the more you get out is obviously a phrase that you'll probably be familiar with. And then that last question is what accreditation is important for me? So we encourage you to, read around and look at the different accreditations that are available. So not all coaching courses are qualifications, is the first thing to say. So for us, the ILM part of our accreditation represents that. And then you've got accreditations from coaching bodies, and we've talked about those a number of times in the podcast: the ICF, the EMCC, the Association for Coaching. One of the features of our courses and the EMCC accreditation piece of them means that when you complete your qualification, so you've passed the 3 assessed elements, we'll ask you if you want to go for accreditation with the EMCC. And if you say yes, then we are able to recommend you for that. And that recommendation from us is accepted. You don't need to go through the application process because they know already what you have done and been through on our qualifications. So it saves a lot of time. It's also cheaper for you as learners. We're also accredited with other coaching bodies. So, we really can offer you everything, but you'll need to decide for yourself what accreditation, if any, is important for you. And that's going to depend on what you want to do with the coaching skills and knowledge and experience that you gain when you train to be a coach.
I would also add, don't get lost there. Because if you're new to the coaching industry and you're looking at all these accreditations, you're looking at the hundreds of courses that are out there, and someone's got this accreditation, someone's got that accreditation, just get a call with one of our team who will be able to talk you through our programs, what the accreditations mean, how they translate in reality. There are lots of things that can get in the way of you being able to make a decision to decide to be a coach. And understanding accreditation and understanding the different formats of the courses doesn't need to be one of them. So just hop on a call with one of our team who will be able to talk you through that. So if you're listening to this today and you're like, yes, I should do that, go to our website. The information is there. You can also register your inquiry with the team. And you may also want to do our quiz, which coaching course is right for me, which you can find at mycoachingcourse.com. And our website with all of our courses is at igcompany.co.uk.